simple materials to differentiate some of the pieces of our model. And we'll look at using some selection tags as well in helping us to add some texture. So let's just create some textures. I'm just going to go down here in our materials manager, create a new material, and double click on that. And I'll just create the robot base. And we're not going to get too much into like reflections and any sort of detailed materials, but just sort of how we can assign those. So with the color, right now it's a sort of gray. I'm going to make that a little bit brighter. And then you can see under reflectance, if we go in here, we have a specular. We can come in and change the specular. So kind of tighten it up a little bit. So fake kind of some shininess. So all we have to do to start applying these materials is simply clicking and dragging across onto the different pieces. You can see as we do that, we've got a little tag here that comes in on our model. So same thing with all these pieces. You can do the same thing up here. So for instance, if this is the head right here, we could just take this and drag it over here to add that to our head. So what's really cool is that we can come in and assign materials based on their tags as well. So let's say we want to have a material that's going to be the illuminated part. So we're going to turn off reflectance and color and just use luminance. So we'll choose luminance, and I'm going to make mine sort of a blue color, kind of a bright blue. So give us the impression of kind of a glow. And let me change the hue just a little bit. So I'll call this something like, pull this over, call it something like glow. And so, you know, if we wanted to add it to this cloner, we could add it to the cloner and create those blue glowing bits. If we wanted to add it to the eye, which is part of one piece of geometry that already has material, simply drag it onto the sphere. And with that material selected, there's an option here for selection. So the selection that we want to add is the eye. So we'll go into the material tag, texture tag, and under selection, we'll choose eye. And you can see it's only adding those eyes. Okay, and same thing here. We want the back of this button to have that material, and then the button itself to be white. Let's create a new material. This one will do sort of more of kind of a black rubber. So let's choose a darker color. Oops, I want to make sure to choose color instead of luminance because we're not using luminance on this one. And then this one we can start to add to some of these other bits. Maybe the ring around there, maybe this piece. And if it's a little bit too bright, we can always go in and let's choose that default specular layer. Darken that up a little bit. And then in the color, make that a bit darker. So we get something like that. I really like the black and white. The seal, I want to make black. And then the hand, I want to have a combination of the two. So for this forearm, we'll do the same thing. And I've gone ahead and tagged the bottom of this. So I'll add the white first, and then let's add the black. And on the black, this tag is called bottom. So I'll just type that in. So that now it's white on top and black on the bottom. For the hand, I'll just make those black. And then we could do like a gray. If you wanted to do like a gray on the front, you would just need to create a selection tag for that. The same thing on the bottom. You could have the soles be black just by creating a selection tag for that. For the knee, let's go ahead and make that black. So very simple, but you can have a little bit of fun with it. Now you see there's like a white rim around this. The reason for that is that when we subdivide it, we didn't have any lines to hold that, and so it's smoothing in this direction. And so these faces, when you subdivide, are actually inset a little bit. And so in order to keep that, all we'd have to do is, let me select the sphere here. And we've already got that selected, so let's just select that. And let's just do an extrude inner. And I want to make sure that I've got all those selected before doing that. Do an extrude inner. And I want to make sure that that's part of that tag, so let me grow the selection. And then we will set our selection to that. Now let's see what happens when we smooth it. Now it looks a lot better. We don't have that white rim around it. So that's just an artifact of the smoothing. So I would go in on the inside of the mouth and add just like a flat black. To do a flat black, which is kind of what I call like a blackout material, you'd use luminance, just like we did with the glow, but on the color, you just add black. And that can help you give kind of the impression that you've got kind of an opening in there without having to build that model in. So you could just take those polygons and add that flat black. So go ahead and add a little bit of texture. Why don't you, I'll go ahead and add black to the soles of my shoes there. And then we'll come in the next lesson and finish everything up. We'll talk about organization and kind of if we want to bake some of these things down and kind of naming things. And you can see we're missing some parts of the model, so we'll talk about setting those up